Hey guys, Brent Ehrler here with Tackle Warehouse, and I actually just got done with Lake St. Clair with Bass Elite event. Lake St. Clair is always a special place to me. It's been one of my favorite lakes across the country. Lots of smallmouth, lots of big smallmouth, and this year was no exception. They really caught some big ones. I caught them pretty well, not crazy. Based on weights in the past, I caught them really well. However, they caught them even better. So I ended up in the 20s, which I was excited about because I've never had some real solid finishes there, but I've always loved it. It's real basic fishing, smallmouth fishing. However, it's hard to find them. And one trick that I did was I cranked a lot in practice and covered a ton of water. You have to fish for these fish. You can't really just pull up to something on your Lake Master map and fish it. You have to fish for a long time before you find the fish because everything's real flat. Not much contour to the actual bottom. So you just have to fish to find them. The crankbait that I used was a Lucky Craft 3.5 DD. Now, I used two colors. I used Ghost Minnow, and I also used Pearl Threadfin Shad. Now, the reason for those two baits is I used one, the Ghost Minnow, in the clearer water, and I used the Pearl Threadfin when it was a little bit dingier water, just so it was a little bit brighter. Now, I was fishing this thing in about 17, 18 feet of water. On a long cast, you can get this thing down to 14 feet. And perfect for those fish that are swimming around and looking up. My thoughts at Lake St. Clair is those fish are always looking up. So, covered water, 3.5 XD, or I'm sorry, 3.5 DD, not the XD, the 3.5 DD. The XD runs too deep. So the 3.5 DD, chartreuse shad, pearl threadfin shad. I changed the trebles out to the G Finesse by Gamakatsu, one of the best trebles you could ever put on a crankbait. Rod and reel. This is a rod that I designed. This is an 8-foot cranking rod by Daiwa. It's the Tatula Elite Series. It's a glass rod, medium heavy, 8-footer. I have a longer handle on it so I can make those long casts. That's why I can get this thing down to 14, 15 feet. Really long cast. Keep the bait in the strike zone longer. Cover a ton of water. 12-pound test, Sunline, FC Sniper fluorocarbon. And I like the Tatula CT 5.5 gear ratio reel. Now, I'm winding this thing very, very fast. It's a 5.5, but the thing I like about that is that it doesn't wear me out. If I use a 6.3 or 7 and cover a lot of water, it just wears me out. So the 5.5 I just feel is easier to crank. So biggest key on this was that 8-foot cranking rod, Tatula Elite Series. Now, the other two things I did is slow down with one of two baits. One was a tube. This is a Canyon plastic tube. I was using a 1/4 ounce jig head on that, and I was using my drop shot rod, Tatula Elite Series 7.1 medium action. I was using the Tatula LT spinning reel. The thing I like about that, two things actually. Very light, and it's a very fast gear ratio. So that tube, if I'm dragging along, and a lot of times I snap it as well. If I snap it and one bites it kind of the top of my swing, I can cover a lot of ground before I set the hook on that fish. 12-pound TX braided line by Sunline to an 8-pound FC Sniper fluorocarbon leader. The other thing I caught most of my fish on was a drop shot. My same rod, Tatula Elite Series by Daiwa, 7-foot drop shot rod. I put that on an Exist spinning reel, 12-pound TX braided line, 8-pound Sunline FC Sniper fluorocarbon leader, and a Yamamoto shad shaped worm. That right there is one of the best smallmouth baits you can use on a drop shot. So shad shaped worm, size 1 G Finesse split shot drop shot hook, and a 1/4 ounce Reins tungsten sinker. That's my basic game plan there. Had a lot of fun, caught a lot of fish, had some flurries where I caught some big ones. It was really a good time. Trick was casting the drop shot, dragging it, but constantly looking at my hummingbird. I can't tell you how many I caught where I was casting and dragging that drop shot along. I look down on the hummingbird and I see one. I reel in real fast and drop straight to it in 15, 16 feet of water, and one bites it. So I had to be aware of what was underneath the boat. Hydro wave got those fish fired up. It brought those fish to the boat. So I had the hydro wave going. That's what brought those fish to my trolling motor where I could drop it straight down. So fun event, finished in the 20s. Always a special place. It's an absolute blast there.